All right, I won't even let you talk. It'll be about 7 or 8 minutes long, and then we're going to hand it off to Ed and John. So what I want to talk about first is marketing lists. So as a marketer, I think it's pretty obvious to a lot of people that you need to have a marketing list. Right? So for us, it's gold because it's your customers or it's people that want to become customers potentially, or people that are interested in your offering, and it gives you the ability to actually reach out to them when you're ready to reach out to them with some sort of offering. It could be an announcement, it could be a coupon, it could be something like that. So if you don't have a list, it's one of those things that you need to start building. A lot of people take the approach of building an email list, and what I want to talk about is a different approach. For us, it's text messaging, but there's a lot of different things that you can do. Once you have the list, you can segment and then you can personalize. So segmentation is where you take this large list and you break it down into smaller chunks, and you can identify the characteristics and the traits of each of the people in those chunks. As an example for us, for Marketers Anonymous, we segment by the city that is hosting the event. So for Norfolk, we will say things like, we're going to be at the Blue Moon Tap House. For Newport News, we'll say things like, we're going to be at Smoke Barbecue, right? Different dates too. One giant list though. Also, you can personalize. So anyone who texted in, you should have got a response back where it asked for your name. Since we have your name, next time we can go out and we can say, hi, first name. Right? All right, so a lot of times we create email lists. That seems to be the default for a lot of marketers. Now, going back 20 years, email was actually cool. So how many people remember when this movie came out? Yeah. Oh yeah. So it was so cool, they made a feature movie out of it, and the whole premise was, you got mail, and it turned into a love story. It's not exactly cool anymore. We all use email, and I'm sure all of us get a ton of spam. As a matter of fact, Ed and I were just talking about this before I got up. I mean, we get so much spam that we're just unsubscribing ruthlessly, right? Because it's just overwhelming. You're getting added to more and more and more lists. As a result, the open rate is really, really low. I'm actually very surprised that it's increasing. So over the last, 8 years, 7 years for this chart, it's increased by 9%, which I don't know why.
More seniors have laptops.
I don't know. Maybe it's because you have email on your phone, and so it's just handy. But no matter what, even at its high point, if this is 34%, let's call it 35%, even at its high point, really 1 in 3 are opening it, which means 2/3 of your effort is totally wasted. Right? So email lists are something that we go to by default, but they're just inefficient by default. Right? So what I want to talk about is an alternative way to have a list and get to your customers or people that are interested in what it is that you're talking about. Now, an alternative way that we're also using as marketers is social media. This chart here shows the engagement, or actually the reach, which would be similar to like the open rate in email, the reach per person on Facebook. I believe this is per post as well. So if you put out a post, what's the reach rate or the open rate, if you will? How likely is it that someone is going to see that post? It's very low. It's worse than email, 6.5%. Right, so we spend all of this time telling people to go to our Facebook and like our Facebook. And what's the point? Well, the point is that when you post something, only 6% of your audience actually sees it. So you might as well just post the same thing every single day for 10 days in a row so that the majority of the people that follow you can see you, which means you're obviously repeating yourself. It's very inefficient. Another thing about these social media networks, and I threw Meetup in here as well because this is applicable to us, is that they own the data. So we thought for our list we were going to use just Meetup. That was the intent. But when we went to export the data, no email addresses. All we got were names. Right? So what that means is if we want to leave Meetup and go somewhere else, we have to start from scratch. Right? We're locked in. They own the data. I can't get email addresses out of Meetup. Maybe I have to pay more for another plan. I don't know, but right now I can't get it. So that was a no-go. I don't want to put all this effort into building up this list of people that attend, and then I can't use it or I can't transport it somewhere else. So I needed another solution. So we started getting into text messaging because a lot of more modern marketers, if you will, are using text messaging. And frankly, I stole the idea from Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah, who here has heard of Gary Vee or follows Gary Vee? Yeah. So I got on his text messaging subscription list, and all of a sudden I started getting text messages from him, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. So I started to look into it a little bit more. And one of the stats that I found is up here on the board: 95% of text messages will be read within 3 minutes. Right? So we're going from 22 to 35% for email, and that's just reach, to 6% for Facebook reach, to 95% reach within 3 minutes. Right? If someone sends you a text message, you're probably going to see it. As a matter of fact, 98% of text messages are read. So only 2% of text messages are wasted. Huge difference between this, email, and social media. Some of these numbers actually don't quite correlate with the other slides. It's just the nature of getting data from different sources. So you may see some differences here. So on this slide, it says 12% of Facebook posts are read. I just said it was 6%. There's some differences. So the point is, it's low, right? It's very low. I ripped off a couple of these slides just to show you and talk through some statistics about text messaging. So the average person looks at their phone 150 times per day. I mean, does that sound reasonable? Does that sound like you? Yeah. I mean, constantly doing this, right? Constantly. I have a friend at the gym. We work out. He'll look at his phone. He'll put it down. He'll do his set. He'll get up. He'll look at it again. Every single time. And I'm like, you realize it'll buzz if something happened. He doesn't care.
It's the fear of missing out.
It's FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. 96% of smartphone users use SMS, right? So people are on their phones, they look at their phones all the time, and they use SMS. Surprise, surprise. Smartphone owners are using SMS. We all know this, right? 98% of text messages are read compared to 22% of emails and 12% of Facebook posts. I talked about that before. Some of these numbers are slightly different. The point is, huge difference in reach and engagement. The average response time for text is 90 seconds, consistent with the other slide, right? And actually 95% of these text messages are responded to, or read, I should say, within 90 seconds. Actually, it was 3 minutes before, wasn't it? Yeah, so this is slightly different, but the point is very quick. Right? If you send some sort of a coupon by SMS, 10 times more likely to be redeemed and shared than if you do it by email or newspapers. At the last, 2 Marketers Anonymous ago, I spoke about newspapers and how they're suffering. Right? They've lost, 81% of their ad revenue in the last 20 years. So fewer people are getting the newspaper, they've got less revenue coming in, they're not as effective these days as other methods like email and certainly like text messaging. And then the final stat, I believe, is SMS produces engagement rates that are 6 to 8 times higher than email. So more people are seeing your text messages than email or Facebook, and they're actually doing something with it. So as Marketers Anonymous, we've tried a couple of different systems. Superphone was the first one that I looked at because that's Gary Vee's system of choice. So I got his text message, I looked at the link, I did a little sleuthing, and I figured out it's Superphone. It's a really high-end system. For us, it was overkill, so we didn't go with that. That starts at about, I think it's $99 a month. It may have changed since I looked at it last time. The next thing that we used was Textaful. So the very first time that we asked for text messages, we used Textaful. The problem with that is when it replies and it asks you a question like, what's your email or what's your name, it spins off through a different number. So you'll text like 1, 2, 3, and it replies with 4, 5, 6. It's not intuitive. So what we settled on was Call Loop. Call Loop is a system that satisfies these requirements. It allows for us to collect more information like your name and your email address. it also replies to the exact same number that you messaged, right? So we don't have the same problem that we had with Textable. It allows for you to resubscribe. So if you were here last time and you sent in the code to that number, today you could resubscribe and it updates your information. We know what date you resubscribed or contacted us last. You can actually update your name and email if you want. And then it integrates with Zapier. We use Zapier everywhere. So if we can't get the data through a Zap, that's a negative. And then we can export everything, right? So all this information, your email, your name, your phone number, we can get all of that so that we can go to another system if we need to. Now, not only is it SMS text messaging, you can do voice broadcast and ringless voicemail. So who here got my text message a couple days ago? And who here got my ringless voicemail? So I wasn't trying to keep any secrets. I said in the voicemail, this is a ringless voicemail, and I'll talk about it a little bit. It's another technique which is very similar to SMS, which is it gets the message right to your phone. But it doesn't harass you with you having to consider if you should pick it up or not. It just goes right to your voicemail. You get a little ding. You can get to it when you want. Most people check their voicemail, although I don't have stats on that. That was a surprise. I didn't expect that. So that was kind of a bonus with this system. And then it integrates with things like your CRM system and Zapier. So if you go with text messaging, what can you do with it? Certainly live events like this. Right? So if you haven't already, text in Norfolk to 38470, and you can see it in action. And you'll be registered to win the gift. Webinars. Even though people are in front of their computer, they may want to send a text message. It's just a different device. It doesn't interfere with what they're watching. And I've actually done that. I've been on a webinar, and I've sent in a text message. Print. Print is really good. The people that are actually reading newspapers, they're probably reading it with their phone next to them. They may not be in front of a computer. Very simple to text in a code to a number. And then giveaways. What we're doing today is a great example of how to use text messaging because we needed a system to figure out who was here and who we were going to give this product to. So if we didn't do something like this, it'd be what? Paper? I don't know. And then the lead follow-up for us, what we're doing in our company, so not with Marketers Anonymous, but with Array Digital, is when someone contacts us through the Contact Us form, right away WordPress pushes it to HubSpot, and then HubSpot has an integration with Call Loop. So not only do we have a thank you page, we send an email to, and in the email it has a video of me saying thank you and we'll be in touch. And we send a text message as well. So the text message goes out right away with the link to that video. They click on it and it's me saying, thanks for contacting us. We'll be right in touch. Just another way to get in touch with them. All right, so a couple takeaways. Facebook posts, very low engagement, 6 to 12%. Email reach, very low engagement per post. Oh, I'm sorry, per email. 20, maybe 35% on the high end. Text messaging, just the opposite. 95% in 3 minutes and as high as 98% overall. You should use text messages to build up your list. Don't go to the default of email like everyone else does, right? Do something a little bit different. It's really inexpensive. For Marketers Anonymous, Call Loop costs us $20 a month. Super cheap, right? So build your list, own your list, take that list wherever you want to take it to in the future, and then have the ability to actually get in touch with your customers when you want to. That's it. Thanks.